Welcome to Arsenal Above All, a rapid reaction to Arsenal 2, Brighton 0. Arsenal comfortably through to the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup. The draw's coming up, so we'll probably find out who we've got live. I'm with Brian Haley. How you doing, Brian?
Yeah, I'm good, Mikey. I'm good. Another workmanlike victory, so to discuss.
Yeah, feeling good after that. Squad depth, mate. It's the buzzword. I think you've got set plays and then you've got squad depth. I think that's
yeah, very
words.
much so.
But yeah, we'll probably end up getting one of the big boys in the next round away from home, and then City or Chelsea will end up getting Cardiff at home, buy through to the semi-finals. Basically, we know that's going to happen. So let's see what happens in the next couple of minutes. But yes, Arsenal. Through against a Brighton side that we've got to admit have had our number the last couple of times, a couple of games at the Emirates, and obviously Fabian Herzler endeared himself to the Arsenal fan base with his antics last season and the way he was talking about Rice's red card and all that stuff. But it was nice to put one over on him. Looked like he'd been in the thrift shop with the clobber that he was wearing. Looked like he was went in the £5 Army and Navy. If you're old enough, you know about them places like Army. I don't know what he was wearing, but shocking stuff. He deserved to get out of the cup just for that. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Arsenal comfortably through to the next round. A great second half performance. But let's start with the lineup, Brian. 10 changes. Eze, the only one that was featured from the other night. What was your thoughts on the lineup? Obviously, looking back in hindsight, and obviously the result. But you concerned with that? I think a lot of people's lineup predictions. I think James, who's been on the show, he did one similar to this. He obviously didn't have Harriman and Anas up front. I think he went with Marino. But what was your thoughts just on the lineup? And did you think it was a bit of a risky play from Arteta in that regards?
No, I don't think so. I think I even mentioned to you, Mike, when I spoke to you during the course of the week. I said he will make 10 changes, and effectively did make 10 changes. I had, if Martinelli was fit for him to have started, and probably have started up top, and I would have probably had Trossard in for Eze. But other than that, everyone else basically that would what was in the lineup as I was expecting to play. They all needed minutes of some sort. In this competition, it's always, it's good that you can have these types of games against Premier League opposition in a cup competition like this as well, because it does give you that opportunity to rotate the squad and the squad that we have now anyway, in particular, to get that kind of game time. You don't, I think if we played a Grimsby, for argument's sake, or a Wickham, I don't think the players that were in the fringes of our squad would have got a benefit from playing in a game like that. They would have got the benefits of playing against a Premier League side. So when they have to come into those games, particularly with the running over Christmas, when you're playing probably about, you're playing 3 or 4 games over a space of 10 to 12 days, they need to be in the pace of playing against that particular type of opposition. So it did not surprise me in the slightest, the 10 changes.
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on really, because let's have it right. In the first half, if Brighton had been a little bit more clinical, probably would have been a goal, at least a goal down, or probably even 2. So you're right in terms of the opposition. They were doing the usual stuff. They were playing out, trying to bait us into jumping, the press and stuff. And I think Harry Banana, it was hard for him because they seemed to be playing around him a little bit, and obviously because he's a young boy and first game and everything. So it looked like they were getting out of very easily. And Believable was sort of marauding through the middle. So it took us a while to get going really, but. Yeah, I totally understand that, with the fact that it was a side like Brighton, a decent side, who know how to move and shift around, almost a little bit, in the way that Palace were very sort of tricky in that first half, because you could probably say Palace maybe shaded that first half with some of the chances they had, but we ground them down. I mean, what was your thoughts on? You mentioned it in the chat, Ethan. And obviously we'll talk about Max Dowman in a minute, but Ethan's performance, again, I think it seemed to come across with him and Norgard, who I thought had a really poor first half. They just seemed to grow in the second half, and especially when some of the more senior players came on. But what was your thoughts on Ethan and sort of the pressure that's on him really to try and grab, the spotlight somewhat, maybe to do something maybe a little bit extra special when he has an opportunity, because he hasn't had that many minutes, has he?
Yeah, I think. Look, what he needs to do is to take I suppose a slight leaf out of the Odegaard book, in that sense. And particularly when you're playing that kind of free in midfield. He's got to remember now that he's not playing out wide where he can slightly cheat. When you're playing in that midfield free, you do actually have to track back, and you have to track runners. And there are times where he wasn't actually doing that. He was passing runners on, and you couldn't really afford to do that. It put a lot of pressure on the back four at times. So I think it's a difficult one for Ethan, because at the end of the day, there is a lot of expectation for him now, and the expectation of coming in and kind of, would we say, kind of deputising for Martin Odegaard when he's not there, or even though obviously the Eze's in there as well now, it's where he now has to kind of take these chances. And as I said, against a Premier League opposition in a game like this today, is the perfect opportunity for him to kind of show what he can effectively do when those sorts of games come up in the Premier League during a busy Christmas period, which is going to be coming up. So I was disappointed a little bit with in the first half. That's for sure. There was a few stray passes. There was, as I said, people running off his shoulder, But in the second half, I think there was a realization. I don't necessarily know if Arteta had kind of had a word or two, should we say? But I think generally, I think he did then I suppose in some respects it might have been just the pace of the pace of the game, because as I said, they kind of overrode us a little bit in midfield as well. because they played initially. They started with three centre backs, so they played a little bit more heavy in that midfield area. But then, kind of in the second half, I think when he there's a bit more confidence about him. I think the change of system for Brighton as well probably helped slightly as well for him to pick the ball up and get into positions. And he took his goal very well, and that's what we kind of know of Ethan anyway. He can take those goals and take those chances when they do come in his way. He has the ability to finish and finish well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just get a couple of comments in the chat. Thanks very much for everyone who joined us tonight. Brenny, Ethan, Jones got the result defensively, no worries. Yeah, even when like Mosquera got caught out a couple of times, he obviously got back, and if it wasn't him, it was in Capia as well. So it was really good stuff from those two. Good evening to Steve. How you doing, mate? And yeah, he said he thought there'll be wholesale changes. Yeah, I thought there probably would have been about 5 or 6 maybe, but 10 was a lot. Good check. Evening all. Hi to you. Let's talk about the history boy, Max Dowman. What was your thoughts on him? Because I mean, he was just, he's just so confident, man. Just dropping his shoulder, going past people, so many touches. He just, he's 15 years old, man. I mean, I don't know what to say. Really, just outstanding. But yeah, what was your thoughts on him? And again, just underlies the quality of depth that we've got.
Look, I expected him to start the game today, and he didn't disappoint. At the end of the day, he did the most important thing about what Max Dowman does is that, yes, we know that his ability to drop the shoulder and take people on and commit, but what he does do as a 15-year-old kid, he's not 16 until New Year's Eve, is it? He plays the game very, very simple. Very, very intelligent kid. He doesn't give away the ball too often. Okay. When he does, it's further up the pitch where we can then obviously squeeze the game on a bit more if we needed to as well. So he's not giving the ball away in bad areas. Okay. He does the very simple things right. And that's sometimes all you ask of, we're asking this as a 15, 16-year-old, but that's all we actually ask of some of our experienced players. And he's doing that now at that particular age. So what that shows is that, he's going to be a staple in the first team. There isn't a question about that. It's now what pressure can he apply to the current first teamers over the next season and the season after that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because obviously his position when he comes in is on the right hand side. We know who's on the right hand side for us. Obviously, he came on and did his thing later. But was he just talk on the goal and the performance? From we talked about Ethan about how big that goal is going to be for him and the timing of the goal. He had him and Eze were linking up pretty well. I thought Eze looked lively on that. Funny enough, on that left hand side coming in, he seemed to have a little bit more freedom. It seemed to be, operating in that sort of position. But yeah, I think the goal will do Ethan a lot of good. Will relax him a little bit, because again, I just think that first half he was doing a lot of stuff. A couple of misplaced passes and maybe hanging on to it a little bit too much. But then he was offsetting that with a couple of good passes. He'd done a really good pass into Marino, I think, in the first half when he could have went out wide to Eze, but he didn't. He tried to find Marino and was trying to be really incisive. So yeah, it was a mixture of a game for him. I think the first half for most of us was a bit shaky, apart from Dowman really, and then the second half, obviously we got the goal, and then all the big boys came on. And it was sort of like, okay, we're taking over. Gabriel coming on and just being a monster at set pieces again. This guy's insane, man. He's just a one man wrecking machine. He just don't know what's going to happen. Obviously Saka as well. They couldn't get the ball off of him. I don't know if you saw the footage today that was released about Saka going to his old school and surprising the kids who were doing a presentation on like role models, and they were talking about him, and then he saw it, and yeah, just really feel good, heartwarming stuff, man, about how he is as a role model and everything. And then he comes on, obviously coming on for Dowman, and then he just, I don't think he gave the ball away, and then he tucks that good sort of opportunity that fell to Andre Herman but it was the run from Timber. I mean, we love Ben White. We love what he's done, over the last few years. But I think there's levels now, isn't there, in terms of the output, not just defensively. Timber kind of showed that he was defensively better than White because of his the way he shuts people down 1-on-1. But his performances and going the other way, it's been unreal. It's just like exploded, and that run was unreal. And then the pass as well. I know he's just come on. The fact that he's just come on as well, that he's cold and he's done that. I mean, what more can you say about those two? On that right hand side, right?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing for Ben White to begin with, I think there is a realization for him. He will plainly say, he's got a given talent to play football at a high level, but does he bother about football generally? We know the history around that, and I think Ben White has looked at a situation that yes, he's playing in a good team. He's going to have to fight for a place to play, but he's also comfortable in his surroundings, because some players will probably be making a noise here and there. He's comfortable in his surroundings at this moment in time. It has come back from a bit of an injury as well, which we have to take into slight consideration as well with that. But Ben White also knows at this moment in time, he's going to play a part in what we can actually ultimately look at delivering at the end of this season. We can only measure Ben White at the end of the season upon how he is sounding, either of getting regular game time or not, and if he feels like he wants to move on or not. But at the moment, he knows that he's in the current surroundings, that he loves the surroundings that he's in. He's getting some game time. He's coming back from injury. Let's kind of see what happens in the new year for Ben White, rather than kind of looking at the early part of this season, because at the end of the day, Jurrien Timber is, I'm not going to say light years ahead of him, but he is ahead of him at the end of the day. It's just as simple as it's as simple as it gets. And as I've said to you, Mike, the modern day fullback, should we say, or the modern day defender, has to have every attribute: the attribute to get forward, the attribute to defend, the attribute to, and the person that loves to defend as well. It's an advantage of obviously having someone that's got the ability to get forward and create, but ultimately is love to be a defender and love to defend. And Jurrien Timber has all of those kind of, facets basically. And that's why arguably at this moment in time he is one of the best defenders in the world. There isn't a question about that. Can play across the whole line when necessary, but we know where he's best positioned. And I think, at the end of the day, that right back is nailed down for him at this moment in time. And it's only, touch wood, in injury, which is going to see, Ben White effectively coming back into that position, unfortunately.
Yeah, you kind of worried that, where's he going to get his minutes from? He's obviously going to be in the next round of this competition, whatever it is, whoever we get, I'm sure he'll play in it. But knowing our luck, we'll have, players coming back and then someone else will come out. That's what's happened. Obviously, Martinelli's picked up a bad one, it seems. Saliba didn't feature tonight as well. It's kind of touch and go. So just fingers crossed that, like you said, he keeps himself fit. Ben White, that's all he can do, because obviously he had issues last season, and it's great what Arteta was able to do tonight. Bring people on for 20 minutes, and then just kind of shut games down, take people off, give people some good minutes. Nketiah, I thought, was brilliant. He had his 70 minutes, and then he came off as well. He just didn't run him into the ground for a whole 90. We didn't need to do that. So it was just a really perfect night, really. And all these guys can do, as you said, is just be available. Just make sure they're available, stay fit, and then we'll and then it just leaves it into the, when you get your chance, make sure you do the business. So let's see, man. Let's go into a couple more in the chat. Steve says, "We score how you want," because open play goals, man. I mean, let's see what have people got to say about that, and then Gudicic says clean sheet FC. Yes, indeed, amazing. I think there's a crazy stat going on. We've played 6 games in October. We've won 6. We've scored 12 goals. We've not conceded any goals in that in those matches as well. Crazy stats, but
the back heel, the back heel,
back heel arena. Yeah, it was lovely stuff.
Yeah,
lovely stuff.
And you know what, Mike? I think this is the thing, and I think where everybody is kind of on this bandwagon on the basis of the set play goals and things. We've had to look at different ways of scoring goals. It's as simple as it gets, because we have faced for probably the last 2 or 3 seasons very low blocks, and we've not been able to break teams down. Hence why we ended up with 10 draws or plus draws last season, because we couldn't find a way to and we put so much pressure on our own back 4 that we should have, when there were games that we should have won, we didn't win, and we drew them, mainly because of the setup of other teams. We had to find another way to create opportunities for ourselves, and if it meant that was the way that we have to do it, that is the way that we have to do it. Because we saw tonight, at the end of the day, with the opening goal, what we can do when we're given a bit of space in and around final third, what we can effectively do. So we're not, where everybody is, on this bandwagon, and the fact that this, we're just a set play team at this moment in time. We've just shown this evening exactly what we can do when given the opportunity to do so. And that's what people should effectively be afraid of. They shouldn't be afraid necessarily of our set pieces, because they will be afraid of that, but they can be afraid of what we can actually do, like we did this evening.
Yeah, 100%, because that's all everyone's been talking about, the set pieces. But then you look at the goals, the 2 goals tonight from open play, they were totally 2 different goals, but they absolutely didn't have an answer to it. There was a stat that went out, and I was going to put it up tonight, but I didn't put it on the slide, about the defensive line, the depth of the defensive line, and ours is the highest in the league, is where we set ourselves. When we're defending, the high lines, not Tottenham's high lines situation, but still quite high. And everybody else is in the league. When we play against them, it just drops off. It's like it's ridiculously low. So people are complaining about us having games that are boring and not having goals from open play, but we're playing against teams that are just low blocking it. Everyone's low blocking it. Even City, even Liverpool at their own ground, are low blocking it, not sort of getting out, wanting to be cagey. City was chucking on, taking off Haaland, and trying to just see the game out. If those guys aren't going out on the front foot and trying to, trade blow for blow with you, then what else are you supposed to do? So we're getting criticised for that. But the teams that are setting up like that aren't getting criticised for it. But then at the same time, we're getting praise for how good we are. But then, so it just all contradictions all over the shop, and it's ridiculous. But I'll bring that up I'll bring that slide up on the Burnley one, because it just makes interesting reading. It's just facts that everyone is they're shook, because either we're going to do them at set piece, or we can do them at open play, and that's what Arteta, again, which I mentioned in the last show, where he said he wants to be the best at everything, at all facets of the game. So you can prepare, but then if you set up that way, then we're going to try and do this, get around you another way. Unlike Maresca, who said in his press conference today that he, what he said about Sunderland, I couldn't believe he said that stuff, but basically all the recon he did on Sunderland, he basically just chuck it in the bin because they decided to play 5 at the back, and they've been watching them all season, and they've been playing 4 at the back, and it's like, well, are you seriously telling me you're preparing for just one eventual outcome, one, and just mental. That's absolutely mental. And if Arteta said something like that, we know he would get pelters for it. But the fact is that we have, like you said, different ways of getting around teams, and majority of it is set pieces because of just the way teams set up against us, and that's the facts. And to go back to Brenny said, my mate was Saka's PE teacher at his old school, so tell your mate well done, mate, because you obviously encouraged him and gave him some great stuff, inspiration to become who he is. Steve saying to clean sheets are winning the league. Yeah, everyone's just rattled. Everyone's lost their heads over us keep being actually good. It's so funny. Brady says, "Are you to everyone?" He says White will get more minutes in the coming weeks. As Brian said, he's coming back from injury, so needs to work his way back to full fitness. Yes. Saka did well. Was worried about him on Sunday. Yeah, but I think Arteta said he was ill because he was pretty much shut down by Mitchell. Mitchell was good, but Saka was very much on the periphery. We're getting called out for adapting to how teams play against us, which is madness. Yeah. And meanwhile, Liverpool have lost their 5th game in a row.
5th out of 6, isn't it?
Yeah,
5 games out of 6.
Yeah, and people just say, they said the same thing about us when Wenger was, we only got one way to play and stuff, and we got criticised for that. So I don't know.
You know what, Mike? I think there's levels of respect as well we've got to look at. I think we're now beginning to respect opposition. Okay, in the fact is that we will find different ways to beat you. Now we look at Liverpool tonight, and when we look at our bench and we look at what Liverpool put out of their 10 changes and what their bench was like, there was no respect for any of the competition, let alone opposition. So if they were that, they could have gone like we did. But what we just showed is that we have the capability now. We have the capability that, we'll throw on big guns when we need to throw on big guns if we have to. We didn't probably, in some respects, probably need to. We just made sure that people, we'll show you what we've got. Last 20 minutes of the game of what we can now bring on to see a game out in that sense. And, that will stead us fair. And I think it will also, opposition will look at us in a way where, look, you know what, we've got to try and figure out a way of how we can overcome, what all our qualities that we generally have, and a squad like we have as well that can change games quite easily. So, look, it's early in the season, but look, we're in a quarter final of the League Cup, the top of the league. You know what, you take that, and 3 wins out of 3 in the Champions League as well. You take that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%, man. It's just funny just to see the reactions from everybody, and as Steve says here, they can't laugh at us anymore, and it upsets people. And Freddie's saying I was bigging him up last year for encouraging Saka. He's a Spurs fan. That makes it even more funny. That does as well. So lovely stuff. But yeah, I was reading an article on the Arsenal website with Jesus, and it was really good article. Asking stuff about how he's feeling, mentally, how he felt when that happened, and obviously he's just had another kid, so he was just talking about going to Brazil, spending time with his kids and his family and stuff, and then just realizing, things happen for a reason and stuff like that, and it just got me thinking, man. It's like, it's gonna be interesting to see what he does, in January when the window comes up, because, it's nice to be all sentimental about it, but he was kind of one of the key figures that we got to change the narrative in terms of internally about how we were looked at. He came in with Zinchenko, and he said, and Zinchenko and him basically told the guys, "You're good enough to win the league. We've played against you, and we know that you're good enough to do it." And a lot of the players didn't have that belief, but But the two of them were kind of like the foundations of that sort of Arteta's, 22, 23 campaign, and it just makes me wonder if we could get that Jesus who came back in December, and scored that hat trick against Palace, and then scored the 2 goals against them again, in the league game. Imagine if we got him back for just the last 3-4 months of the season, with the options that he can play either side, he can play down the middle, and we're at the business end of the season, hopefully, fingers crossed, Champions League, FA Cup, whatever league. What's your thoughts on that as well? And you're not even, when people talk about the squads and the squad depth and the players we've got to come back, we don't really mention him that much. We mention Odegaard, we mention Kai, but what do you think about him? Do you think he's going to want to go because obviously you've got a World Cup? Do you think he's going to go, or do you think we kind of, not sentimental value reasons, but maybe he might think that himself? He might think, you know what, I was here to kind of start things off, and I'm going to be here to finish it and get you guys over the line. What's your thoughts? They're doing a draw now. Oh, we're out first. We're at home. Let's see. We've got live reaction here. From Brian Haley. Let's see if he has head loss. Who's that? Man City. Oh, Crystal Palace.
Okay. Well, look.
I'll take that.
Look. I think one, it's a home draw.
Yeah.
2, we know that Palace will arguably put out
City or Chelsea.
Strongest.
Yeah, City or Chelsea. Watch. Yeah, City or Chelsea. Chelsea. There you go. So that'll be who's left? Fulham, Brentford, Man City and Newcastle. Well, Man City, Newcastle, please.
Yeah.
That'd be nice. One of them out. And then Fulham, Brentford, London Derby. Oh, number 1, who's that? Oh, Brentford. So Newcastle got Fulham. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that. Palace, they're gonna know what's up. We played them last year, innit, in the League Cup, innit, and then we in the quarters. We played them in the quarters. Yeah, we played them in the quarters last year, I think, and then we played Newcastle in the semi-finals, didn't we?
Yeah.
So it could be the same pathway again. Yeah, Newcastle for them. So it's all opened up to have a big semi-final if it works out that way. But yeah, let's see. Palace, let's take that. Again, it's another game like you said, where if he rotates again, then they're rotating and they're coming in against a really, really good, one of the best sides in the league. I'm no cap, man. That Palace, the way they were organised on Saturday, man, they were really, really impressive, really good side. So it's going to be interesting to see how they come out and how they play that game again when that comes round. But sorry, what was your thoughts on the Jesus, man? What do you think?
Look, I think he to be fair, he's always been at the back of my mind, and as that additional person that we will probably need when it comes to past January and February. That extra pair of it's ultimately going to be an extra pair of experienced legs for us, and that's that's the way we've got to kind of look at it, because we've got the game changers are there now within the squad, but we probably haven't got that experience or that know-how of going on to win the title. We've been close enough, but we probably need to have someone like that in and around at that sort of time, who's been there and done it, to kind of just help us get across that line moving, going forward. I'm looking to be fair, I have a bit of a soft spot for Jesus, and I'd like to see him come back, and I'd like to see him come back and really make a difference. I know it's kind of, we're going into World Cup year, and there is, you know, everybody's going to have that in their head, whoever. But to me, you know, what he's got to think about is just playing at this moment and getting what he can back on the pitch and whatever minutes he can.
Yeah.
Now, if that generally means is that he gets sent out on loan or he gets sold in January, I personally don't think he will. I think it's far too close.
Yeah.
To now, you know, he's not back at full fitness just yet, and we're coming into November.
Yeah.
So I can't. If someone will take a chance on him, then fine, fair enough, and it comes in with a decent money, then okay, we might have to review that situation.
Yeah.
But I don't see it being something which it will be feasible for him. And I just don't, as in his fitness, I don't think it would, and I don't think it would benefit him anyway, going out on loan anyway, to be honest with you. Not at this stage. I just don't. I think people will use him in their team very, very quickly, and I don't think that necessarily will benefit him anyway in his recovery. I think where he is with us now will be better for him, and get able to, and you know, and as I said, we're in the business. If we get into the business end, he will feature somewhere. He will feature something. There is no question about that, and I think that's probably in the back of Arteta's mind as well. You know, we've had, you know, some indifferent luck, should we say, in that sense.
Yeah.
You know, with both him and Havertz, for argument's sake. You know, Martinelli situation, for argument. You know, so there's lots. I don't think it will be something that Arteta's possibly looking at, and it will come down to Jesus himself. But I think he's already come out. If I'm not right in saying, he's already come out. Look, he wants to arguably see the contract out until 2027 anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so he still feels it himself that he's got a part to play.
Yeah. After reading the article, after reading the interview, I can see that he was kind of saying that, you know, he wants to finish what kind of what he's been part of. Sorry, what he's been part of. We obviously with coming along with, you know, Zinchenko being so close the last couple of seasons, and with the injury, you know, this has been the longest injury he's had, you know, in his career. And he was there tonight as well. So, you know, I think that he will see it and want to be part of it and get over that line. You know, even people like, you know, Ben White, I think, you know, he might not want to play second fiddle for long, but he will see, you know, he's been part of this kind of this journey of being so close. You know, this group just want to get over the line and then maybe reassess and see what the future holds, sort of thing. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Steve was saying if he wants to play and try and make the World Cup, we wish him well. Could see him going to Italy. Yeah, I could see him. There's been rumours of Everton sniffing around him as well, because they're crying out for someone up front who knows where the goal is. You know, that's you know, they you know,
but they'd have to pay a price. They'd have to pay a price.
There's a premium, isn't it? Yeah, even with the injury history. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Because of the general need, and I think what Steve was saying about, you know, Jesus, you know, going to Italy. Yeah, you know, people can probably see that. But I think as we said, Mike, I think he's got a little bit of unfinished business.
Yeah, I think so.
He's got a bit of unfinished business, and I think, you know, and if he's smart enough, he can see what the squad is like at this moment that we are. You know, you know, when we look at probably the City squad that he was at to the Arsenal squad that it has now, you can't say to me that we can't challenge on four fronts. Yeah.
And I think everyone knows. Yeah, everyone knows that as well. Yeah. So you're kind of thinking there's a chance here that we could create some of his kind of history. You know, we can do something, you know, really special, and you can, you know, got a great chance to have a few special moments before you do, you know, depart or wherever you want to do with your career. So, so yeah, fingers crossed, man. Hopefully he comes back. If he can come back like that Jesus that was at the end of December, just, you know, a couple of games against Palace, funny enough. yeah, fingers crossed, man. We can get the best out of him, squeeze the juice out of him, and then what happens in the summer. What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts for Saturday, Burnley? Tricky one, obviously, on paper. Football isn't played on paper, but it should be. We should break them down and get a 2-0, something like that. Maybe set piece situation. You've got to remember they were seconds away from getting a draw against Liverpool, but obviously going on the record, the way Liverpool are playing at the moment, it's not a good Liverpool this season, really. But what's your thoughts for Burnley?
Look, we just got to go there and do a job, Mike.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. To be fair to Burnley, at the end of the day, they picked up results at home, so that makes it, even a tricky game in itself. The way that they will probably be set up as well. So we just got to go there and kind of, do a job. We've got, the ability is ultimately there. We should be able to create openings for ourselves against a side like that.
Yeah.
However rigid that they may or may not play, but I think we've just got to go there. And these are the types of games that, if you want to win the league, these are the ones you win. You've got to go out and win, regardless of and you've got to look at the three that have come up from the Championship, what they are doing this season as well. You cannot underestimate them, regardless.
Yeah,
you just cannot. So we've really got to, we've just got to make sure we put a professional performance in on Saturday, and no more than that, really. To be honest with you, that's the bottom line. We don't want to give anybody any sort of sniff in any shape or form. Really don't. This is it's very. It's kind of, it's one of those games where if they were in the bottom three and struggling for a result, you're kind of looking at it slightly different.
Yeah.
But they're not, and they're making a good fist of games. So that generally means is this one's not going to be something which is going to be quite simple, and
Yeah, it's good in a way that we've got Sunderland after that, haven't we, away, and they're another one. It's going to be almost. I kind of the way this you set up against those teams, you don't take them for granted. They're at their backyard, so they're going to be up for it. The fans are. And like you said, it's early in the season, so you're not playing them, in March, April, where they need points to stay up. And if that is the case next season, when there's return fixtures, they'll be at home. They'll be at the Emirates. So you kind of think that we should have enough to see past them. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. Again, this is going to put into, like you said, the mentality of us going down there, be on job, and just do the business, and get out of there. Obviously, we've got Champions League after that. But yeah, I think we should have too much for them. And so a few players had a good rest tonight. Yorkeris didn't come on. Calafiori didn't play any minutes either, as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how he sets up. But we should have too much for them. So yeah, thanks, Brian. Thanks for your time, man, tonight. Really appreciate it. Jumping on for a quick one. Daniel was there as well tonight. He's going to drop his first vlog of the season, and that will be hopefully, if it's not if I don't put them out tonight, it will be early tomorrow. We'll be back Sunday to do a recap of the Burnley result. Hopefully it's another good one. But before we go, I just wanted to say, and I'm sort of kicking myself, I didn't mention it at the beginning, just thoughts and prayers to everyone affected with the devastating situation in Jamaica. Seeing some of the news and footage is you're just helpless to see what Mother Nature can do, and it's absolutely devastating stuff. And hearing what one of the ministers said, that Jamaicans are going to be sort of unrecognisable after this, it's like wow. But thoughts and prayers. Obviously, we know people. Obviously, with the heritage and everything, and so thoughts and prayers to everybody affected, and you just hope that people can pull through it, and the fatalities or whatever isn't as bad as was projected and everything. And I think they said that it wasn't as high as it was, but still, you look at the devastation. It's unreal. But thoughts with them, and we'll finish it on there. Thanks everyone who's in the chat. Thanks everyone for watching. Like I said, thanks for everyone and all the support. We'll be back on Sunday night. So Arsenal progress safely through to the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup, where we will face Eze's exes again. Crystal Palace. They'll be sick of the sight of us. So it's the Eze and Ketia derby part 2. So we've played each other 4 times already this season, which is crazy. But so we've got that to look forward to. Should be a good one. And all the best to everyone. Have a great rest of the week. And come on, you Gunners. That's all there's to say.
Newcastle, the central figure again. And he looks to trick Michael.